Hello, my name is Caitlin DeWitt. I am a student at Winona State University, majoring in clinical exercise science. Today we're going to go through your graded exercise testing packet, and today I will just be covering section 10. This is lung sounds. It should be on page 44, as well as section 17, which is exercise prescription recommendations for abnormal test results. And this should be on page 51. It should be the last section way in the back of the packet there. But first we'll be covering section 10, which is lung sounds. I'll give you a second to kind of run to the back there. Okay, so to begin, let's talk about how lung sounds are auscultated. Auscultation means listen to of the lungs via stethoscope. So we're actually going to listen to the front and to the back. If you look at figure 10.1, I'm just going to use my phone here to kind of show you. So these are each bullet here is kind of a site that we will listen to via the stethoscope. As you can see, there are about 7 sites on the front, beginning here, close to the clavicle. Moving in a snake-like pattern, will go down just below the ribs here. And on the back, we'll be moving in a snake-like pattern, covering those 8 sections there. So we listen to the lungs in order to hear different abnormal lung sounds, or you may be clear. We don't know yet. Possible lung sounds or abnormal sounds that we might hear are crackles, rhonchi, wheezing, and pleural friction rub. This paragraph kind of just covers when and why we might hear these sounds. And if you'll look at figure 10.2 there, this is a diagram of the lungs. So air actually moves in through the mouth to the larynx, down the trachea to the bronchioles, and we'll get to the alveoli here. Alveoli. That is where gas exchange happens. That's where the O2 and CO2, oxygen and carbon dioxide, are mixed between the oxygen in the lungs and the blood. So that's where, quick little insight of what gas exchange is. So moving on, abnormal lung sounds are big indicators of respiratory disorders. And this next paragraph kind of covers 2 main respiratory disorders that there are, and those are chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, COPD, and restrictive input disorder, which is RID. And in most cases in COPD, exhaling is very difficult, and we can kind of see that in figure 10.3, which is the flow volume loop here. In COPD, it's super hard to exhale, so in expiration, we're going to see a flattened curve there, as well as a shift to the left. And in RID, oh my gosh, it's so hard to breathe in, and I can't inhale at all. So during inhalation here, we're going to see that there isn't much inhalation at all, but there is more expiration because, oh yes, I can get all the air out. And the flow volume loop is just going to move to the right there. And this big green one here is the normal. So in most cases, what do we see? Great. So under that, we can kind of see some diseases that are under COPD and RID. Under COPD is asthma, can be chronic or acute. Next, we have chronic bronchitis and emphysema under COPD diseases. The most common disease that falls under restrictive input disorder is pulmonary fibrosis. And if you look at figure 10.4 there, this is under the next paragraph kind of talks about some of these words here on the right of the figure, and it's kind of interesting to see how this is a normal flow volume, but in COPD and RID, some of these figures might change. For example, in COPD, the residual volume and the expiratory, the ERV kind of go down. So we have the residual volume and the expiratory reserve volume. These will go down a bit because it's so hard for them to exhale. So if you want to continue looking at that one, that is there. Moving on, we kind of see your results next. Under that are norms and guidelines, ACSM guidelines, kind of telling us what your results mean. So under the first, second, and third tables here, I'll just show you so we're all on the same page. Your projected for the FEV over VOC was 105, so you're actually way above that mild category there, but you're still falling under the mild category. And secondly here, we see that your FEV is 94, so again, you are pretty far over the mild category. However, we should still kind of take the time to measure this in order to find a baseline, track progression, and kind of make sure that you aren't developing these diseases. And because we see that your results fall under the mild category, we would just encourage you to keep maintaining that healthy lifestyle of good exercise, healthy habits, healthy eating, going to sleep, drinking your water. Keep maintaining that healthy lifestyle, because in order to stop the progression of some of these pulmonary disorders. So next, I covered the section 17, which was the subject experiences the ventricular multifocal Bugemini, the angina, and the ST depression at the beginning of stage 3. And at this time, I would have stopped the test. Based off the graph of the relationship between heart rate and VO2, we found that the rate pressure product is at about 20%. And in order to change the test so it could be safer for the client, patient, subject, we said that the percent grade needs to stay under about 7%, and the speed limit should be around 2 miles per hour. Along with percent grade and the change in speed, we should not have the subject exceed the RP of about 13, which is still in the yellow part of the rate pressure, of the RPE scale. This should hopefully keep the angina down. And continuing on, exercise in the future should stay below an under an ischemic threshold by preserving an exercise intensity of 40 to 60%. And in this final graph here, kind of just shows the heart rate and the VO2 And from this graph, as I said before, we found the rate pressure product to be at about 20% there. It's where that graph kind of splits in half. And we see that major increase at that point. So, thank you for watching my video today. As the client, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me. I am only here to help you. Hope you stay safe and have a great day.